So I'll get streaming. And we'll go with the intro now.
Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. Can you guys, I hope you can hear me. I don't think you can hear him anymore. So I will make sure that you can hear him. Oh, you can hear him. So it's been, it's been a wonderful game for the Montreal Canadiens, and we got a win. We got a win. What a historic time. And we got a really nice win. I was concerned at one point that they were gonna, because they had a great first period, and then I thought that it would all go away. But that's a later problem. That's a next time they mess up in the second period, we'll deal with it then problem because they won. So how are you feeling about today's game, Mark?
I thought that was the most complete game the Montreal Canadiens had all season. Actually, it's funny because I'm going to go back. The Seattle Kraken game is crazy that they lost 8-2 because that statistically was their best game. But the Habs had the edge in shots on net, so they're actually getting shots through. The defense started scoring, which was a big issue heading into this game. And I genuinely thought Montembeault had one of his best games. I thought both rookies on defense had they're not rookies anymore, but Struble and Jekai also played well.
Yeah.
All in all, amazing, but entertaining. And that was the key part. It was entertaining.
Yeah. I feel like unlike the Buffalo game, which we saw entertaining, I would say, at the end of the day, it was entertaining, but I don't think they played good hockey necessarily.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
But
not. No.
I think this game, it was good hockey and it was entertaining, which, what a world.
Yeah, and especially for a team that's looking, it's so frustrating when you're playing better and you're not getting those results. So we saw the Canadiens play with a little more confidence as well, and not getting behind the 8 ball right away. Scoring that first goal. It felt like it was the first time this year. I know it wasn't, but just scoring that first goal was absolutely crucial. And for one, the Canadiens weren't having to really give their all just to bring down that 3-0 lead, right? That they usually cough up. So overall, all in all, great. And as the chat's mentioning, everything's working great, Kay. So you set up everything perfectly.
Hey, good to know.
Unlike me the other night, you should have seen me how much I was swearing at my computer. It almost became part of the wall. So all in all, Kay, you're doing just as well as the Montreal Canadiens.
Thank you.
Yeah, not all season, because that becomes an insult, but tonight, yeah, exactly.
I was going to say the last time I tried, I think I was doing how the Canadiens were doing then. So we're good.
There you go. So before we get going real quick, we're just going to ask everyone if possible. Kay is hosting tonight, so make sure you can go check her out on Twitter. It's KAY_IMW. That's her Twitter account. And also, we would like everyone to support. We have a show called Hyperdrive. So what it is, a show hosted by Maxime Van Houten. Well, I'm saying his name that way. And Daphne Malbeuf. The recap is really entertaining. It's local voices that are, the most exciting place. And as well, we ask if you could subscribe, like, and we have a LaRouche, what do you call it? Like the drive, either way, campaign to raise some money. So all of that's in the description. We have other ways you can support us as well. Go check out the description. But most importantly, go follow Kay on Twitter. She's our rising star.
Thank you. Warning, I do my best not to swear. No, that's a lie. I swear there as much as I want. So heads up. I think quite a few of you already talked to me on there, which I love, by the way, guys. I love talking to you. Obviously through the live chat, but also when we're not on live chat. I just like knowing you guys, like us and like me.
There you go. It works really well now. Okay, so is my sound not great? Because I just realized I had my, you were talking about the audio earlier. I had my mic cranked all the way. So that was part of the reason in the other feed. If anyone noticed the last feed, I left it streaming for a few minutes afterwards, but thankfully, I think Rémi noticed it, but thankfully we didn't say anything too bad there. So that all worked out.
Is it crackling that you guys are hearing? Because I think I'm hearing crackling on my end.
Well, we'll ask the chat, and I just brought mine down a little bit because I had it all the way to the max. So we'll ask the chat if my audio got a little bit better. But you know what? they're here to listen to you. So the less I talk, the better it is.
Well, okay. So, for me personally, I'm just really happy with this defense. I wasn't expecting to be. I think,
Mhm.
okay, let's touch on David Savard. One of the kind of only rough spots of the night. One of the only rough spots of the night. It was a very last minute decision because I think we saw him come in those like, the hype videos they do.
Mhm.
So, it was quite unexpected. Um, because as we talked about last time we were together, which I believe was the last game, Mark, I think we both agreed that Struble might need to sit for just like a game or two.
Yeah, he was
Um,
having a hard time. He was having a hard time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, fair. And I don't think it was like a bad decision by Marty at all to have that originally planned, which he
No,
said, by the way, in his quotes, what his explanation was is that it was more about wanting Justin Barron to play
that
than
makes sense.
Struble, which I agree. I was getting really nervous by how long he was just sitting up there.
Well, and
Um,
just goals wise, right? We're not seeing any goals from the Canadiens defensemen this year until tonight. And Justin Barron last year, I think in the first 17 games, he had 3 goals. This year, in the
yeah,
first 17 games, all the defensemen had 3 goals combined. So it
yeah,
made sense to put Justin Barron in there. And I thought defensively, he looked pretty good.
I agree. I agree.
I managed
I
to break
really
my
like
mic
that
there. Hold
pair.
on.
Uh-oh.
No, no, keep going. I'm just breaking things left and right here. All right.
Um, yeah, I think for me, I actually really so okay, let's talk about the top pairing. Matheson and Hudson. We've seen that before and we haven't seen it work very well. I don't know what the big boy numbers say, but to my eyes, uh, and I've seen the game scorecard or whatever, but I know that that's not like the best indication. I know there's like people debate about it, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I really like the way they look together. Oh, is Mark gone, guys? I think Mark might be
That's okay.
gone. Oh,
Am I
you're
gone? No,
back.
no, I should still be
Okay,
here.
you're
Yeah,
back.
yeah. I was actually not interrupting for once. I felt like a big boy there. I wasn't
I was like,
interrupting.
it went completely quiet. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not
No,
Mark.
I was enjoying exactly right. It's funny because when we look at all those stats, when you look at, someone was asking the other night
Yeah,
why Lane Hudson's numbers aren't that great, and I don't know what you mean, but David Saval's great in the room. He's statistically pretty poor on the
yeah,
ice. So
yeah,
being paired to David Saval, everyone mentions that it's good for Hudson. Statistically, it's not whatsoever, right? So
yeah.
like Saval plays that always in the defensive zone, like high energy for not much output, whereas Hudson is high energy for high output, and it's a completely different game. So
I think I know the answer to this, Mark, but why we see a Gouli, got my mention in guys early. We see a Gouli who is also a more defensive defenseman, but he works with Hudson. My theory is I kind of have my answer, but what's your answer?
I mean, it goes. It's whoever's better at adapting. It's genuinely hard to play with Hudson just
Yeah,
because you have to adapt on the fly, and the forwards have to adapt on the fly, right? So I think that goalie's just a little more, a little has quicker. Maybe his anticipation's a little bit better. He processes things a little bit better, and he knows exactly what's happening when Hudson's on the ice. But I'll say this: Matheson and Hudson this year, their numbers are actually over 50% in shot
really?
control, expected goals. Yeah, and that's the best pairing so far the Habs have had. So, but we're talking about 40 minutes total.
Yeah,
40 minutes at 5-on-5 spread in 18 games is nothing, right? Like that could
yeah.
just be them, on looking at, line
It's
changes.
them getting
So
their sticks tangled up the way that
e-
Monahan and Lane did today. Did you
exactly,
see that?
exactly, yeah, yeah.
It was
That was
incredible.
fantastic. I love that. It's listen, everyone wants a part of Hudson, right? So it's kind of like soccer games when they exchange the jerseys. I feel like
Yeah,
Sean Monahan wanted that stick, but it's just the thing with Hudson is that he's such a different. He's like the new breed of defenseman, and I know we talk about Kale McCarr and obviously there's
quite
is also
his.
great and Hughes
Hmm.
amazing. And I feel like Hudson's actually a level above, but it's because he took a few more years, right? So like those guys are the Georges St. Pierre, if I can make an MMA analogy, and they're the first ones to become hybrids. That means they're dominant. Now there's
Hmm.
guys that are becoming that are hybrid defensemen like from the get go. So when
Yeah.
they come into the league, we're seeing Lane Hudson's making more high danger quality passes than anyone in the history of the NHL right now.
Hmm.
Like that's unheard of. So when the players adapt to that, I really think his numbers will start to go up both underlying numbers and points, right? Because he should be up to
Yeah.
about 20 assists right now.
Man, with those great plays we're seeing that are almost goals but not quite,
So
you
many.
just know, Mark, you just know his first goal is going to be like going off someone's ass. Like it's not.
Right?
It's gonna be like a terrible first goal, and everybody's
Yeah,
gonna be like, well,
ass goals are great though. We always want more ass goals. Right? That's the advantage with him. I think he's the most in the last 3 games though. I think Hudson hit
yes,
higher in the last 3 games. But it doesn't matter to me. It's just the fact that he changes the entire not outcome of the game, but the momentum on a whim out of nothing. And I understand that it's a high reward risk scenario, but I wouldn't worry too much about his underlying numbers because again, that's what getting goalie had bad numbers besides Savard. Everyone that played Savard has had bad numbers. Let's be perfectly honest, it's not a Lane Hudson issue.
yeah, and I was gonna say foot speed. I think that's one of the big ones. We see a lot of, and Hudson is good at recovering when he makes mistakes. Again, we talked about this last time too. We've seen
Yeah.
him recover, but I think uh, with the defenseman who's like that, like it's just human nature. He just wants to be out there doing like creating stuff.
Yeah.
And you just, I'm really like, I wasn't expecting it because Matheson and Hudson both love creating. And it was like, well, I think it's the rest of the team stepping up partly. And I also think the Blue Jackets aren't that good.
That was a bit of a rough game for them. When you hear that David Yurichek is in the minors right now at
Yeah.
Cleveland, you're like, geez, looking at that, like there's not a ton of talent there, especially with Justin Danforth as your second line center. I mean, Jake Evans was the second line center again, but hey man, Jake Evans, it is a contract year, isn't it? Right? Is it?
It
Hold
is.
on, let me check.
Yes, it is. Jake Evans' contract here hits
Good for
different.
him. Good
Yeah.
for him. I'm so happy, and I want him to cash in so much because I was just thinking one of the first training camps, the Laval Rocket, how these guys aren't in the industry anymore, but they were there at the time, and they're basically saying like, this kid will never make it to the NHL. There's nothing outstanding about him. Well, he works harder than everyone else, and that will get you to the next level. So full marks to Jake Evans. And hey, listen, I'm not the first one to do a trade here. I think Rick Springhetti did the first trade, or who traded Taval here? Let me go check in the. Oh, okay. No, Rick was defending. He was saying he would possibly extend him. I don't know if you extend Savard, but I don't know if you trade him either for a fourth round pick at the deadline. Like what's the
Yeah,
value of a fourth round pick there?
you can't trade him for nothing. It needs to be something. And here's the thing. So Savard's contract is obviously last year. Um, he is right-handed, which automatically like opens,
That's the big
higher
one.
the price, raises the price, I guess.
Mhm.
And the other thing is like I just think that like guys, GMs love that kind of guy. And we've talked about this. I think David Savard in a role down, like maybe the last pairing
Third
would
pairing would be
be,
perfect.
yeah, it would work. But like my little, I get the appeal. I think, we have Papa Savard. Um,
Like his
oh,
Halloween costume there,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, that was Grandpa Savard.
That's amazing. The oldest athlete in history, 34 years old. Yeah. But I just don't see the value, right, of moving him for like a mid-round pick. I guess, if he's going to be gone, he's going to be gone. And Reinbacker's not going to be back by then. Logan Mailloux, the reason I wouldn't right now is that the Laval Rocket are actually doing something incredibly special right now in the AHL. For anyone that hasn't noticed, Laval Rocket are first place in the AHL with a bullet. Like they are dominating right now. And it's a myriad of things. So you have Owen Beck playing really well. Jared Davidson's playing really well. Jacob Dobesh is playing well. Connor Hughes is playing well. Logan Mailloux is playing well. So, and Joshua Roy, obviously, all the time. Alex Barré-Boulet. There's the first instinct is get them in the NHL if they're playing so well, but you really need these guys to learn how to win. And I'm a
Yeah.
really strong proponent in having a quality AHL team where the guys, if all you do is learn how to lose as a professional, it's going to be really difficult in the NHL. So I don't know if I mess with Laval right now. I just have all there just to keep Mailloux in place And like it or not, Mayu is one of the most effective players in the league. So right now, I just don't see the value of messing what's going on with that body because they have a legitimate shot to win the
Yeah,
Calder Cup.
yeah.
What Pascal Vincent is doing down there is just incredible. Like full marks to him and the players.
So I didn't plan to go down this route, but actually I'm really interested, Mark. What has their record been like, kind of in the last little while? What's it?
They have one loss in their last 9 games. They are
No, I mean
they
like
two
over the
losses
last few
total.
seasons. I mean over the last few seasons, what's the
It,
trend been?
that's the thing is that with the Laval Rocket, they actually got okay. First of all, the what do you call it? The pandemic really absolutely screwed them. Like they were the best team in the AHL at the time. It's kind of like the Laval, the Montreal Expos when the league got canceled, and they did pretty good last year under I already forgot his name, but Régent Hull's son there, Jean-François Hull.
Yeah,
But there was a kind of a hesitancy to really use those top end players, so they did
yeah,
not make the playoffs. They've made the playoffs, I think, once in the last 4 years. Those were suspended though. It's just been a lot of almost in Laval, and now
yeah,
we're getting like they're the best team by a huge margin right now in the AHL.
yeah.
So it's very encouraging in the sense that for once the Canadians have an AHL team that's playing well with players that will eventually make it to the NHL. That's the big
Yeah,
talk now.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the big one is, and I'm with the Mayu thing. I think we've seen. Um, I love Justin Barron. I'm a big Justin Barron fan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'm
Scored
not
goals.
saying that he's like bad, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen kind of what can happen when a guy is um not really defensively quite there, but because he's got the offensive powers, we kind of keep him. And I'm not saying that like Justin Barron's like washed. He's not, but
22 or 33 or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's not washed, but like I'm
Yeah.
kind of drawing the comparison. I don't want to kind of have that happen. Mayu is very important to this team's future in terms of we don't have a lot happening on that side. And as we saw today, great transition, which would be better if I didn't say great transition, but great transition. As we saw today, goalie on the left side. How you have strong feelings about that, and after seeing it, I can understand why.
And I don't want to go back and harp on this, but have we noticed that when Gouli plays on the left, he doesn't get cross checked in the back as he's retreating pucks? Like
Yeah,
it's so evident that him playing on his offside is a risk for injury and it makes him worse. So
yeah,
like thank God that. But I think it shows a level of trust, right? With this guy that at 20 he was on the first pairing, at 21 on the right, 22 on the right. It's a lot, but it's just so much better for him, and it's his the corralling the puck and quickly getting it up the ice. That's what he does best when he's not on his backhand, right? So
yeah.
there's nothing good about him being his offside, and there's everything great about him being on his natural side. And I honestly think, Kay, this is the first time he's played 3 games in a row on the left side. I'd have to go check, but I really
Yeah.
think that might be the case. Maybe in his rookie year, but that was like a baptism by fire by while being thrown to the wolves
Yeah.
and another idiom that I can't think of. So right now we're seeing him comfortable in the position that he should be. That's just I know you hate it though. You hate seeing Gouli
Of
play where he should be,
course.
right?
I definitely also hate seeing him be, hit like badly less. Of course.
Yeah,
Um,
constantly.
yeah, I definitely haven't worried about that. Uh, no, because
Well, and let's be honest, the amount of injuries he's had is significant. It's like we
yeah,
don't want to talk about it too much, but at one point it's like, okay, this isn't just random, right? So as Strinka mentioned, he protected himself so well against the boards tonight. Yeah, well, again, it's just really a lot of that's the position because the brain doesn't actually think protect yourself when he's on the right, but he has to. On the left, he can
yeah.
get the puck out. So yeah, all in all, it's just a great decision to. And I don't mind. Not, I guess it was. What was the first pairing? Was it officially the first pairing? Because like I know he was listed as the second pairing. I don't think he
Well,
has. Martin said he has like a first, second pairing in mind. It's more whoever's
I
playing well,
don't,
you get the 25
yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
I don't think he does. I think officially the first pairing was Matheson and Hudson, but I
Yeah.
also did see Gouliet with Hudson. Or sorry, Matheson. I saw like a mix, which tends to be how Marty likes to do it, which
Yeah.
isn't the worst thing in the world if it's semi-consistent. I
Hey,
don't
well,
love
hey,
the
you see,
constant changing, but if
I didn't
someone's
mind it
feeling it,
tonight.
someo's
I
feeling
didn't
it.
mind it tonight. Well,
Exactly.
and I know what you
Tonight,
mean.
tonight's
I
the
know what
good
you
part
mean,
of
but
it. Yeah.
exactly. Still, like that was one of the criticisms I had thrown at Martin St. Louis. Okay, about a week ago, I had said three things. The players are really struggling with defensive strategy. That was true.
Mhm.
They've gotten much better since then, right? Like we
Sorry,
talked
Mark,
about
can you
this.
repeat that
Sorry,
just really quickly?
the defensive strategy is one of the biggest things I complained about last week, right? I
Yeah.
was saying we they were having a really hard time adapting to it, and they've gotten much better defensively since there. So that's a big feather in Martin St. Louis' cap.
Mhm.
The other thing that I had criticized him, obviously, is Kaden Gooley. He's back in his spot. And the third thing I had suggested is that he's really poor at making in-game adjustments. Tonight, we saw a ton of in-game adjustments. I don't know if I agree with Safkovsky getting demoted, but it worked out like within 5 seconds, Like
Yeah.
Yoel
Yeah.
Armia got that, first of all, great pass by Arbor Jacki, playing on his good side.
Yes.
Quick
Yes.
pass by Armia, quick goal by Suzuki, so it paid off. But the three things that I really went at Martin St. Louis for last week, he did marvelously this week. So, I really do believe this has been a good week for the Montreal Canadiens, even though they're coming out of it, not with the
Mhm.
best possible result.
Mhm. Mhm. So with that, I want to talk a little bit more about maybe the staff thing, and then we can talk more
Oh,
about the positive, like in the
Safkovsky.
forwards. We can kind of talk more about them. But just to get the little bit out of the way, we don't want to talk too many negatives today. It was a wonderful game. Um,
It was fun.
but
It
I
was fun.
I did do some angry tweeting at that
What was
moment.
your
I
angriest
will
tweet?
admit.
What was your angriest tweet tonight about Slavkovsky?
Uh, yeah, I think it was a very, very
I'm gonna go
empathetic.
check your feed right
Are
now.
you effing kidding me? It was,
let's
yeah. It
let's
was
see what
actually on
Shay.
Bluesky that I got madder, but yeah.
Okay, hold on, Shay. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, there.
I was
Slav
busy
is
taking
bench.
notes, which keeps me
That's nothing.
calmer.
I think like listen with the whole benching thing, I didn't understand it because Slavkovsky is still the team's third best point producer. A lot of that's the fact that he played alongside Suzuki. I really like that Slavkovsky's playing a lot more on his own this year. We saw it in the first period. He was driving the play, he was controlled entries, and the reason that Matheson scored that goal, I'll give credit to Matheson, but that was all Slavkovsky. Go and watch that. He did the perfect screen. Like
Yeah.
he jumped. Like
And the
it's
jump
unfair,
was
right?
amazing. Yeah.
That's unfair.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
already have a guy that's 47 feet tall and he's jumping in front of you. So that's what I want to see. Like he's using his frame to create chaos. Now, there were a few plays where he just clearly made the wrong decision, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's what's getting to Martin St. Louis at this point. But by the midway to the third period, Slavkovsky was back on the first line. So that's another in-game adjustment by Martin St. Louis, and I feel like that's fair in the middle of a game. As long as you're not punishing them like permanently, you're skipping a few shifts in the second period for Uri Slavkovsky is the youngest guy on the team still. That's not a big deal, right? So the fact that he put him right back in
I
there
keep forgetting Lane Hudson is older than him, by the way.
by a few months. Yeah, I had to change my
Lane
article
Hudson has
tonight.
like a child face, I would
I,
say.
I wrote tonight the youngest player on the team. Then I'm like, wait a minute, and I have to go check in. Slavkovsky is a few months younger, and hey, it's his third year in the league. But
It's
overall, I
really
think
funny because Monty has toddler face.
yeah,
Monty has toddler face, and Lane Hudson has child face. You know what I
just an
mean?
absolute child. But yeah, and when you see him cut, you're like, I'm calling Child Protective Services. What's going on here? Like, get him into a home. But yeah, I get and he wants to see a little more from Slavkovsky, and I feel like that's fair. But I also like what some of the things he's been doing. Instead of just relying being part of the play, he's trying to drive the play, and that's a huge difference for Uri Slavkovsky.
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing some people in the chat say that they didn't love Slav's game, which I have to disagree with that. I
Oh
think
yeah, a lot of people didn't like it on Twitter either. I didn't really get that. I thought he had a good game up to that point, honestly.
I thought on the two-thirds of the first line looked really good. I
Yeah,
really liked Suzuki's game, even though I
mhm.
think he only had 1 point today.
That's
With the
it. Really,
goal.
that's
I
crazy
don't
for Nick
I don't
Suzuki.
know. I can't
Only one
remember.
point.
A
I'm gonna go look
bum,
here
am I
now.
right?
If
Uh,
the NHL site would work, that'd be fantastic.
it'd be lovely.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
only one point for Nick Suzuki. So he
yeah.
maintained his point per game pace on the team that doesn't score. We really have to like. I get so much criticism towards Suzuki anytime I tweet about him, and I just don't get it. Like he's the
Yeah.
only guy in the lineup that's going to go point per game, and he's doing so much. Like he's dragging this team to some wins, right? So I know
Hmm.
some people want to see more, but I really think that Nick Suzuki does so much for this team that when he goes 2 points without a game or 2 games with a point, we can overlook it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think even sometimes I find I believe it was the first goal that we saw where he kind of, if there was a tertiary assist and
Yeah,
we could get three, I feel like he would have gotten that one because he did a lot of like good work on that. It
absolutely.
feels about 15 goals ago because there were so many goals, but
Especially for the Habs fans, right? It's like you're gorging on goals. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You know,
yeah.
the chat has a really good point here, Kay. And, you know, I mean, he's saying it, and actually several people mentioned it, but, oh, Jeffers mentioned thoughts on Newhook, and then someone said Newhook was meh, kind of meh, then they start talking about Doc. I would agree with that Newhook and Doc, Newhook, I feel like, it's like 1 out of 10 shifts and he's really engaged and he gets that shot, it hits the chest. But overall, he's trying Doc. I feel like his timing is completely off and he's hesitating. He's really having like, you know, at one point in the first period, he had that shooting opportunity, but he double clutched and the goalie was set by then, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know what's going on with Doc, but I think it's a confidence thing. I really do. And
yeah.
if he just relies on his instincts, you know, just
Hmm.
shoot, just start shooting, just start passing quickly instead of trying to make it fancy. That'll probably help Doc. But right now, he doesn't deserve to be on the first line. It's as simple as
I
that.
would say
He really doesn't.
I'm seeing a lot of people say that, it is it might be a recovery thing from his injury, which is
It
fair.
still is. Yep,
I
yep.
think both you and I have acknowledged that like it's a hard injury to come back from.
Big time, big
And
time.
it's a for a guy who was injured so often, it's but and again, I try to be very, very careful about the words I use in terms of effort for guys. But sometimes I'm seeing too much effort from him. Other times I'm seeing not great body language, frankly. He's
Absolutely.
inconsistent, like in terms of, Slav had that bad body language moment, which he got demoted for. Partially,
Yeah, when he was on
I
the
would,
bench there, yeah, you heard
yeah,
the loudest or "fuck on that, let's go," which is a
I
great
heard it
song. Bench
so,
there,
yeah,
we heard that pretty loud there.
yeah,
Yeah, that came out clear.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. But I'm not like that was just, I'm seeing a little bit more than I would like to. Uh,
From Doc,
again,
yeah.
yeah, I understand the frustration. I want to be fair to him,
He
but
feels
at the same
defeated though.
time,
Like he kind of looks
yeah,
defeated.
yeah. Oh, can
It,
you
it,
guys hear
it,
me?
it- yeah, I think they should. Hold on, let me go check back on the. Well, now and here's the other
Okay,
part is oh, your voice went K. All right, yeah, get
okay.
close to the
Sorry,
mic there,
guys.
K. So there you go,
I
you're
will
good to
bring
go.
myself
I think
closer. Yeah.
David Trott mentions Doc threw a good check tonight, a step in the right direction. Yes, using the
Yep.
physicality, absolutely. But I really feel like he's trying to prove that he's back to where he was. You know, when he
Yeah.
played that one
Yeah.
game last year and before that, and just it's going to take a while to get back there. You know, it's really going to be. Is both our voices bad, or what are we doing here?
um,
Hey, well,
I'm
here,
gonna
but
bring
that's
it
okay.
close to my mouth.
They'll let us know how
Yes,
you sound
please
now
do.
because you're about to say something. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I was about to say something.
and,
Yeah.
and,
I
and
think
sorry, go ahead.
yes. I'm seeing some people in the chat say that they believe he needs to play with more of an edge. It's Sean. Um, and I would agree with that. I know it's just that's the kind of guy we need him to be. That's when he's at the most efficient. Okay, let me just check my mic, Mark, real quick, and you
Yeah,
talk
sure.
for a
And I'll
little
keep
bit.
going there. Yeah. So Trinka mentions, yeah, the stats card Armia at the top. So what the hell do I know? Yeah, I thought he had a pretty rough game as well. You know, but again, I can't criticize Martin St. Louis for the decision because it worked. You know, even if it didn't make sense, it doesn't matter. It worked. Right way Armia had that and it was a no hesitation pass
Yeah.
in the neutral zone.
Mark, give us a second. I need to get you back on your audio. Sorry. Uh, default. Okay. Guys, can you hear Mark? Because I'm not, can you say something, Mark? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's just, I will talk, guys. You can hear me talking. I am talking. Certainly, I am talking. Um, love to talk. Um, okay, so I'm going to try to get Mark back on here. We've been having a little bit of, we're using Discord for the first time. I'm gonna put up a slideshow so you guys can see our merch, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm going to get.
It's probably just your bit rate or something, your actual, not your bit rate, your connection.
Okay, we're back. Guys, can you hear Mark now? Mark, can you?
Un, deux, test. Un, deux, test. So the
Yes.
chat will let me know. You take it away, Kay.
Okay, I'm seeing you on my monitor.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm seeing you. Uh,
like that.
okay, I'm back.
Perfect.
We
So to get
troubleshot
back to
on the
what
fly.
Doc was real quick,
We
if
adjusted,
I
the way
may,
Marty did, by the way. We adjusted. Good for us. High five.
right? I would say for Doc, and I know he gets treated really well here, but maybe forcing him on the first line is not the best approach right now because you're not really making it a meritocracy, right? You're seeing other guys drop, other guys go up. Doc is not immune to that as well. So I would maybe consider dropping it next time until he really feels in the rhythm. And it's not a punishment as much as a accepting the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I think, like, of course, he would probably see it as a punishment because he's a hockey player. He wants to play up there. But I think realistically, if you look at it, I think it's putting him in a position to succeed a little bit more. You know, the first line is at the very getting the most tough competition. We're seeing the other team's best defenseman. So I think it might be a good idea to move into the second line. So what would you do? You'd put Caulfield back? Because I really like Caulfield on that second.
Yeah, but I like what Jake Evans is doing, but let's be honest, that's not sustainable. And for the Canadians to have a good chance to win games, you need
Yeah.
more than one good line and one being dragged by Evans and Caulfield. So it's tough because my solution involves bringing the guy up from Laval that I just went on a rant about not touching Laval, getting Roy out there. But I don't see the Canadians ever succeeding with Doc and Suzuki being on the same line. Those are
Yeah.
top two centers, right? So, with all due respect to Jake Evans, you're the one that mentioned it last time. If he's your second line center, there's some roster construction issues. So all it is another good reminder to Kent Hughes that the center issue isn't solved yet, and that's fine. And they have to keep that in mind going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I'm a big Nick Suzuki fan.
Of course.
But I think, he's not like top of the league in terms of as far as onesies go. So I think you need a strong 2C behind him, like you just do. So yes, Doc working out is important.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm like a little bit ringing the alarm bells. I understand, but I'm a Habs fan. If I wasn't ringing the alarm bells over something, I wouldn't be a Habs fan, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that's concerning for me is that he's still on the top line and the top line's scoring, but it's not really scoring with him, right? Like he was involved today. He got this on, I think it was a power play goal. But overall, I don't think he's really like active in terms of adding a positive impact on that top line. Nick Lariviere mentions in the chat, just keep Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield together. I agree that's a long-term solution because it didn't work for a little while, but we know that there is some tangible evidence that those three play well together. And long term, that's who you want up there. So I would probably look into putting that line back together. And I'd almost keep Jake Evans as a second line center, maybe drop, I think it's Remy Lee mentioned it in the chat. You can drop back down to the third line center. And I know it's crazy, but right now he's producing as a third line center. His stats are probably fourth line center. So Jake Evans doesn't deserve a demotion. I'd almost consider sending Doc back on the third line and just say, hey, listen, man, don't stress. Find your rhythm. Don't force those passes. Like, do what's instinctual. Doc's an amazing hockey player because for the longest time he played off instinct, right?
Yeah.
Now he's overthinking. I honestly think he's overthinking every single pass. And once you get in your own head, like I know for a fact that it's a scary place to be. So, I think Doc just needs to kind of let it all go. Take it shift by shift. I know I'm being very, very cliche here, but don't grip the
The
stick so tightly. Just really
cliches
go out there
exist for a reason.
right? And like go out and remember it's funny, but every single player, when I ask them, how did you get out of the funk? They all say, I went back and I thought about when I played as a 10-year-old out on the rink when it's minus 25 at 2 a.m. And right away that evokes memories of puck hitting the boards and ricocheting in the pines and just that sound of skates on the ice. And when you talk to them about that, their smile comes back.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, hey, that's why you fell in love with hockey.
Yeah.
Get back to that. Get back to having fun. And it's really hard to do in a professional setting, but it's important for players. And I think it's important for doctors. Get back to what you love, and that's just having fun playing hockey.
So I have a question. I know we talked a little bit about with that idea. I like that idea practically, but we
Mhm.
talked a little bit about how we both think that a little bit of Doc's problems are just, up here, like in the brain, less than body wise.
Mhm.
Do you think that we run a risk in sending him the wrong message? Because here's the thing. But also, like, part of me is here's the
Yeah.
thing. Marty can say what he wants. He can explain what he wants, but they might not, people just it's in his mind, in his mind he's a top 6 center, and if he's not there, there's something wrong. But also, um not to sound like a boomer, and I'm not dismissing his feelings at all, but like sometimes you just have to push through it. Sometimes you just have to be like, this is where I'm at, and I just need to do XYZ.
Responding to adversity is the most important thing of being an adult, right? Like life is just a series of shit shows that you kind of have to adjust to on the fly. So no, I'm right there with you. Trinka mentions here, put Doc with Gallagher, and also I think it was Nick like, yeah, would you bring Gallagher with Evans? Now that's a really good question. Gallagher, as much as I love him, I've been pro Gallagher, and I really had a great time like shooting down everyone that's been insulting him this year. I
I
still
know
think
you
he
had
sticks on
some
the third line.
bookmarks. I know you had
Oh,
some
oh gosh.
internal or external
Oh my God,
bookmarks.
okay. Last year, you know me, I like defending the guy that's getting just absolutely ripped apart, right? That's one of my, if he deserved it.
Yeah.
Last year, I wrote like, Brendan Gallagher is playing extremely in the second half of the season extremely well, but the points aren't there. But this is good. Like, this is a really good sign for Brendan Gallagher because he didn't do this for a year. And I had about 30 people that repeat most of my stuff. They got so sarcastic. Like I got 10 or 20 messages just being like, oh, there he goes again with this bullshit about a veteran. I will compliment guys if they deserve it, and Brendan Gallagher absolutely deserved it. So I got so many sarcastic, like, oh yeah, Gallagher, what's he gonna do next year? Well, he's been probably their most consistent player this year. So,
I would say.
but I don't know if you put him in the top 6, right? Like
I wouldn't.
that's a
I
big
wouldn't.
ask. That's a big
I
ask.
would,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what about this? What about you keep Jake Evans and you put Kirby Doc on the wing on the second line?
I don't want Kirby playing on the wing.
I know, but demoting Evans? The thing is, long-term Evans is not going to be your number 2 seed. So
Hey,
yeah.
he's getting a lifetime contract. Okay? Okay? Are you hearing me, Mark? He is getting a lifetime contract.
We got a really great comment here from another Matt in the chat. Technita. He mentions the mental struggles could be related to him being afraid of being injured again. Okay. Does anyone watch soccer? Because Neymar, he's playing in the Saudi league right now, I believe, or no, in Turkey, Saudi, either way, one of the big buck leagues out around the Middle East, and he got injured pretty badly. And when he came back, you could watch him. He was jumping away when guys were coming to tackle. Like his and this is Neymar is, he wasted some potential at PSG, but he's still one of the better football players of all time. Yeah. And this is a guy who you could see he was afraid of any physical contact. So absolutely, the big thing with Doc was that last year he trained so hard because he knew he had to stay healthy, and he got injured right away. So all that plays a role. And I think we saw him this year kind of, get a little more aggressive than he needs to. But overall, I really do think, and it's tough for me to comment on this because I could be wrong, but I really do think once he, forgets about all that stuff, which is difficult, it'll go a lot better for him. But absolutely, being afraid of being injured again is part of it. It has to
100%. 100%. And I think it's, again, totally understandable. I work very hard too. And I think, so I've talked to both Andrew and Mark about this. I think we talked about it first as I was starting to get into Game Over or before. I really care about the human side of sports. I think that's very, very important to me.
We forget it all the time.
Yeah. I care about, like not only just, which like later I'd like to come back and talk a little bit about Shay Weber, but stick to Kirby Doc a little bit. Um, I try very hard to like keep that in mind. Um, but also there's a certain amount of not like suck it up, but more just the only way out is through. The only way out is through. Which is kind of what it is,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like let's we can throw away all of the human emotion, which is real. There are guys that get paid millions of dollars to play a game. When it comes down to it, when you boil it all down, these
Yeah.
are adult men that get paid millions to play a game. So yeah, and we're not going to say suck it up, buttercup, but there does have to be there does have here, try this a fourth time. There has to be some sort of a response to the adversity, right? Like that,
Yeah.
that comes down to Doc, whether the injuries are there or the struggle is there. It really comes down to him letting go a little bit. But I think like Martin St. Louis is probably the best guy to have when you're not going that well, because I'm sure he's not like he's done a very good job giving guys multiple opportunities. And I know people don't like it with Josh Anderson, but that's a coach that's not giving up on his players, and I think they appreciate that.
I think Josh Anderson had for his kind of what we expect from him, a good night. He had some flashes, which is I think the best we can. Yeah, I had no problems with him, which I just wanted to bring up because we are seeing him score the goals. Like obviously, forget about his contract, which is kind of a repeat with Gallagher kind of thing. Yeah, we say it a lot. I think Mr. Bergevin has left us with some forget about the contracts. But if you kind of put that aside, I think he's not actively dragging the team down, and he doesn't look miserable, which is nice. I don't like seeing guys look absolutely like they're going home and getting like kicked by a dog. Sorry, that was the other way around. That was the metaphor just kind of slipped away from me.
You know what's crazy right now? I would say Josh Anderson actually has, out of all the active players that have played all the games, he has the third highest expected goals share. So what that means is that they weigh all the shot quality, where the shot's taken, by who, and the type of shot, whether it's deflection or rebound, and they chuck it in all this magical formula and just tell you how many expected goals you should control. Anything over 50% is pretty good, right? I mean, out of 100 goals, you're controlling 51, 52, etc. Josh Anderson's high danger, and I know it's not the whole recipe, but he's controlling 55% of the high danger chances when he's on the ice. Now, the shot share is really low, so it's hurting his expected goals, but in terms of high quality chances, Dvorak, Gallagher, and Anderson are doing by far the best on the Canadiens, which is like, it's great, but it's also a little bit concerning because those are the three guys that people complain about the most. But full marks to them, man. Right now, I know people don't love that Dvorak's getting ice time and they don't love seeing Anderson or Gallagher, but I really do believe they're giving an honest effort, and it is showing up in some of the statistics. Like, keep in mind, the Canadiens have a very hard time controlling high quality shots. So the fact that Anderson's at 55%, that's pretty darn encouraging. And high danger goals, actually scoring them, not just the chances. He's been on the ice for 2 high danger against and 7 for. That's fantastic. That's not like 75% control.
That's great.
So a lot of it's Gallagher, though. I'll be honest, a lot of it's Gallagher. But hey, man, cheval donné, on regarde pas la bride. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Like
here's the thing, Mark. We've seen him on a line with like Nick Suzuki, and still not be at that.
Okay, when he went back on that, remember a few games ago when they put Anderson?
No, I'm talking general. He actually, that one, oh God.
I was like, oh, come on. Martin, come on.
I like held my face so hard. I swear I pressed my eyeballs a little bit. Like, it was, sorry, that was graphic. I was
like, here we go again, right? Like, you get those Benny Davis eyes going on, but at least St. Louis didn't keep it for 20 games. So another improvement on his.
Yeah. We're definitely seeing, I'm liking what I'm seeing from basically the bottom of the lineup right now. How do we feel about Condata?
I was just going to mention him. I oftentimes I was critical of the call-ups, right? Because it's pure skill. I don't know if you want Lucas Condota. Like, he's not better than Alex Bakiboulet. He's not better than Joshua or Owen Beck or Jared Davidson, but he's the perfect fourth liner. You can take him. He's the captain. I was about to say you can take him away from the team and it won't change anything, but I mean, they're still winning without him, and he'll work harder than anyone. And he's one of the hardest workers that ever made it to the NHL. So, like, I have such a soft spot for guys like Condota or Alex Belzil, or that just get their shot and they finally make something happen. His smile on the bench today was the highlight of the night for me.
Yeah.
Lucas Condota, when he scored, like, it was an insurance goal. In the long run, probably didn't matter, but that's the type of goal that you think about when you go to bed at night, and you think about all that effort that it took you to get there. I'm just really happy for Lucas Condota. I love guys that don't get as many opportunities finally make. Hey man, he scored 2 goals in the NHL so far. That's 2 goals more than anyone predicted. So yeah, they didn't play a lot, but I really like how hard he plays. And also on that fourth line, I think Emil Heineman is becoming a very, very useful bottom 6 player.
Which I did not expect. That was a criticism I had early about who was getting sent and who was up and who was giving an opportunity. So yeah, I mean, like, it worked. So no complaints, I guess.
The crazy
and he's
part
physical.
right now,
You saw how physical he was today too.
and if you saw him in Laval, what he started doing, because he came from was it Cologne? No, he wasn't with Cologne. Who was he playing for? No, it doesn't matter. He was playing the Swedish league. And, when he got Skellefteå, and he got here and he started scoring all those goals, he was shooting at like 50%.
Yeah.
Then he figured out I have to be a little like rough and double. So if you go back last year in the AHL, Heineman was dropping some big old hits, like him.
Yeah.
Toby Bisson Paquette and a few other guys were really dropping hits. Tonight we saw him absolutely destroy a Columbus Blue Jackets player, and that's what you have to do on the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could become a third line player, like almost like a Gallagher. But so far, with very few opportunities, Emil Heineman's doing quite well. And if I could nerd out for 2 seconds here, I believe he's the only player. Yeah, Emil Heineman's the only forward that is above 50% shot share this year. Oh no, Lucas Condota just joined him. So again, it's different, right? It's an easier assignment, but anytime your fourth line is controlling the play, bonus. Their third pairing is controlling the play with Struble and Jack. So you don't need to worry about them. There's way too much energy focused on the third pairing and guys like guys on the fourth line, because it's tough. It's a tough assignment, and if you do okay, that's fine. That's good for the NHL.
Yeah, I would say that, like, I think back to one of the more memorable, I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, but one of the more memorable, like, I feel like those kind of guys, the feel good stories are part of what, like, are some of the most memorable stuff. So you remember Pez riding the stick? It was
absolutely,
that was one of the best moments.
And homage to Tiger Williams, because okay, great that you mentioned him, because I know he hasn't played a lot this year, and I don't count him in any of the statistics. But it's actually Michael Pezzetta that, like, by far has the best stats this year in terms of puck possession. Like, during his 3 games, 66% of the shots he controlled. So 19 against 36-4. You know what I mean? Like, that's incredible. That if any player would finish and now check this out. His expected goals, 80% for Michael Pezzetta. Scoring chances, 72%. High danger scoring chances, 65%. I know he plays a very limited role, but Michael Pezzetta, he does a lot with what he gets. Let's just put it that way. Like he actually, and he's entertaining. So, but I'll tell you right now, there was not enough guy that was on the ice earlier than Michael Pezzetta in Laval. Every single game. And I've ranted about Joel Bouchard never giving him a chance, even though he said he would. When we talk about hard workers, yes, there's Jake Evans. Yes, there's Pandora. Michael Pezzetta put them all to shame. Like, from his time from Sudbury into Laval into the NHL, no one's worked harder than him, and including like Sidney Crosby. No one's worked harder than Michael Pezzetta to get to where he is and stay there. And it's such a frustrating situation, right? So he's keeping a happy attitude, but something's got to give eventually, right? I think with the Pezzetta.
Yeah. To kind of, so we are climbing in terms of the time we've been on. So to kind of move a little bit forward, so by the way, I like spending some time talking about the bottom 6 guys, because they're important. And I really appreciate it when they're doing the job to allow the top guys to do what they need to do.
Make life easy for them. And the chat actually has a bunch of obviously everyone love everyone loved the Condota celebration. And Heineman, so Trinket says Heineman's shot, he has the best shot on this team. And I know everyone's saying, no, it's Cole Caulfield. Emil Heineman has the best pure shot on the team right now. Cole Caulfield has the best release, but Emil Heineman has the most accurate and fastest shot right now. He connects on one-timers. Like he doesn't have as many opportunities there, but it's an amazing shot. Sean Tardif is saying Emil is a misplaced as the fourth liner. I kind of agree with that. I'd like to see him in the third pairing, but then right after, they're getting all my arguments for me. Our community is so smart. Someone mentioned you can drop Anderson and Gallagher, and you can't drop him right now. But just the fact that you have a guy that deserves a promotion, that's playing well in the fourth line, that's a good sign. Internal, you want those guys to be coming from your farm team, right? Like you don't want to pay for them. So I know there was a trade behind them but they developed them. So all in all, it's very encouraging seeing guys developed in the AHL that come up through the NHL. It's been so long since the Habs have been able to do that.
Speaking of Heineman's physicality, I just like to very quickly, because I will be talking about Shay just a little bit, and big boy physical. So let's talk a little bit about what happened with Jack Guy today. That fight, listen, I'm not a fan of like this. Listen, the cave woman in me, I like a good fight, but I'm not a fan of those staged fights. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like there was like, I can't remember who the opponent was, but but he's from, I believe he had like a lot of family in the stands, and so he probably wants to like give him a little something. But like at the same time, but Jack Guy, you know, I'm sure that makes people respect him, which, you know, his opponents must really respect that he steps up. But at the same time, he was landing a lot of punches on the visor and helmet, I was getting concerned about that.
Well, first of all, the Mathieu Olivier is like I've watched a lot of hockey fights and MMA. Like I used to watch fights in Japan, right? Like really rough, and some bare knuckle backyard fighting too, like kimbo slice and stuff. So I'm used to seeing those shots where they don't sound heavy, but there's a thud, right? And Mathieu Olivier landed 3 of those thuds.
Yeah.
At one point, Jack Guy's leg buckled, and I don't know how he didn't go down because that shot would have felled
right
a water
back
buffalo.
Up.
Sacrément, man. Like I would have stayed down. Like I hurt for him. I remember 2 years ago, I misplaced a punch during a fight, and I smashed it on concrete, and it's been broken for the last 2 years since then. Right? Like it hasn't actually healed fully since then. So. I don't know how they do it. I know that a lot of these guys like Crow Cup in MMA, he'd put a plywood board and he'd just punch it endlessly. But one of those shots against a helmet will absolutely destroy your knuckles. They land 20 in a row, and they're the toughest humans in the world. And like Jack Guy's landing those on the helmet as he's getting punched in the chin. That was a tough fight. Olivier is a tough guy. I put him as the best fighter, right up there with Nicolas Delaurier. And Jack Guy surviving with amazing. It's like when you see the zebra go through there and a crocodile gets hold of it, but the zebra makes it through.
Just makes it,
He made it through. Yeah, he made it through. So like, good for the zebra. But and it was his first fight. All in all, I like that he's not into fighting all the time. But it's funny because Columbus won the fight, but the Habs took over the momentum, didn't they? From that point on, the Canadiens controlled the game.
Yeah, the second was very dead for them. They had like bursts, but mostly it was dead. Mostly it was Columbus. And then I felt like in the third, when they came back, they, I believe Nick Suzuki scored before the third started, and then kind of the Habs were able to turn it on. I think
Jack Guy was the one who had that breakout pass there, right? So it goes to show that. I know he gets so much criticism, but Jack Guy is more important than the Canadiens when he's on the ice rather than in the bench. But, you know, the first fight, I was really worried for him, you know, in his rookie year. It was like, man, they were putting him out there like a gladiator. It almost felt like it almost felt
a little bit like we were like thumbs up, thumbs down him. Like, I felt
right. It was like, geez, man, like back to back fights. And you could see his game, his quality went down. His shoulder turned to like,
which makes, dust shoulders aren't good for hockey, it turns out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. And Nick, I used to do wrestling, actually. That's what I did in high school. I was really good at wrestling until the whole point, I went provincials. The whole point of, and now you see I don't do so much wrestling anymore. But the whole point of high school sports is to injure yourself. So I wrecked both my knees and my shoulder, and I stopped doing any kind of wrestling. But it's still very good to have. Wrestling's a great base to have. I'm a bad boxer. I got these little T-Rex hands, right? So, but and I've trained a little bit. I've done a little bit of jiu-jitsu with some friends. I've rolled around like 20 sessions. But all in all, I just don't understand how these guys can just launch those endless punches on the helmet. It's a space-age plastic. It was invented to go into space,
Yeah.
Man, it blows my mind. But and a lot of people haven't been in fights. They don't know how like intense it is. Just the feeling you get, the adrenaline. You don't feel the pain at the time, and then once you're done, the emotions come through. So like, I give props for them to get relaxed at the end of the fight, because that's not how normal human beings react.
Yeah, I think I'm liking the fact that I think Jack Guy's picking his spots. I think even for hits, really, I was a little worried because going into the season, we had some of those moments, which it's when you play the Suns and you play the Leafs, when you play rivals like that, and
It looked like it was happening all over again. It was like, oh, here we go. Yeah.
So I was worried that he'd be in that same position again before he learned that he could like turn down fights. Because guys like those kind of guys see Jack Guy out there and they're like, okay, time to like up my cred if I survive this guy. Which even if they don't, then they might still get the credit of going, But I'm glad. I'm happy because it was his first fight. But I'm just talking about the general concept of like stage fights. I think that's something that I'm just like, fight because there was like a hit. Fight because you're mad. I don't know.
I get it, but at the same time, I hate fights reacting to clean hits. So I've made my position very clear on this. I am a huge hypocrite. I love fights. I love them with a passion. I as much as I don't like the whole idea what Don Cherry did to the NHL, kind of promoting concussions, I had all the Rock'em Sock. I had Rock'em Sock'em on VHS. It wasn't and I grew up. They're not around anymore. But I had two brothers that were older than me, and they would both pin me down while my parents are gone. For 10 hours straight, they'd beat the shit out of me, right? So I got into fighting at a very young age, learned how to defend myself again because I had two bully brothers. So I love it. I love everything about it. I can't, but it's gonna go away eventually. But in the meantime, I'm absolutely cheering every fight. And I know it makes me a hypocrite because there's brain injuries. I've gotten clearly a few concussions, but I just can't help myself. I absolutely love a good fight. And tonight, that was
two big boys going at it.
But when you look at it, there's maybe two punches that landed, right? So they injured themselves more than they injured maybe not Olivier, but either way, it was entertaining. And the good news is, we saw the other night, Ryan Reeves ran away from Jack Guy. And that was, Jack Guy was at the end of his shift too. That's usually when Reeves picks his spots. He's smart about it. He'll go pick a guy that's tired. That's what he does. Jack Guy was at the end of the shift. Reeves was fresh and he invited him just like, hey, let's go. And Reeves is the one that skated away. So, I think now his reputation is doing most of the work. And if I may, real quick, I know I talk a lot, but there's a story about a certain guy.
I love it, Mark. I love it. Don't worry about it.
There's a Jean Béliveau, or Le Gros Bill, as you may know him. He fought actually a lot in the first year in the league. Don't forget, you're playing against Detroit, who has Gordy Elbows Howe. Gordy was a dirty son of a bitch. I'll tell you that right now. He was like really dirty. Maurice Richard were very, very elbows.
Yeah.
Jean Béliveau fought 4 or 5 times in his first year. I don't think he fought once after that, right? So it's just about proving your worth. You and Larry Robinson had to fight 3 times after he beat the tar out of Schultz, right? So I think Jack Guy's really established his point in the league. He's only going to pick his spots, and there's already guys like Reeves running away from him. And by the way, Reeves tonight, I don't see how you put him back into an NHL lineup. Like, I'm sorry, but useless player, injures. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. Secret agent man just mentioned it. It was predatory. It was directly to the head. It was absolutely useless. And I think
Nurse's hurt too. So I think that as much as it matters to the suspension.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what's the intention there? The intention is to injure. That's 100% it, right?
So, and did you see Bieksa being like, oh, he didn't?
Bieksa always does. Like you could Jack could pull a chainsaw in the middle of the ice and saw off some guy's arms, and he'd be like, well. the guy kind of deserved it. He was kind of not, kept his head down. He kept his arm down when it got dropped. So
No, but
yeah,
thankfully he wasn't like, he was like, yeah, it was a bad hit.
Oh
It wasn't
wow.
good. He was very like admitted of that, but I think the
And
part that I didn't like was that he was like, oh, Reeves didn't really expect him to turn like that, or
I
that's
hate
the
that.
part that I don't like. Like, it doesn't really
I hate that
matter.
so much.
It doesn't matter what Reeves meant to do. He did what he did.
You're not allowed to hit a guy in the head, so it doesn't matter at any point. That
Oh, I'm
pulled out his
sorry, everybody. I
lunchbox.
meant Biz. I meant Biz. I'm so sorry. I just
Oh, it was
he was
yeah.
replacing Bieksa today.
Palby Sonet's a little more reasonable in it, and he's
I agree.
lost a lot of fights. He'll admit it. But the thing is that they say, oh well, he should have kept his head up. No, doesn't matter. You're not allowed to hit him that way,
Yeah.
in that manner. That's illegal. Therefore, whatever happened before doesn't matter one little bit. The person that did the illegal play is at fault. So I don't see why. I know the Leafs wanted to get tough and all that, but they're a team that needs to be team toughness. Like throughout everyone, not just one goon. And I just don't see why you'd ever put Reeves back in the lineup. But
Yeah.
he was washed 5 years ago. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. So really quickly before we take questions, because we're already running so late, I'm sorry,
yeah,
everybody, but I just want to just really quickly. Speaking of visors, as we talked about, last night I was in my feelings and I was watching some Shea Weber highlights, which of course include slap shots that have perhaps not done people favors. And there was
Bernie
one.
Gallagher well, if he could, he'd raise his hand, but it's more of a mangled, like you ever see Terminator 2? Did anyone watch that? The hand that they
I
find.
think it's finally finding like bones that are like they're popsicle sticks. I think we're popsicle sticks. But yeah, I think we've seen like there was one that I saw that was like it was a Sharks player. I can't remember which one, but Shay caught him in the visor and like he went down. I think it was a Vlasic. I think it might have been Vlasic.
Possibly.
Yeah, because I remember.
I don't remember that.
I remember the broadcast talking about how they were team.
It says Sharks player survives is the first title. Survives a Shea Weber slap shot. Yeah, it was Vlasic.
Yeah.
Good memory. Yeah.
Yeah. So good memory because I was watching those last night. I was just in my feelings, right? Like
Did you ever see the laundry list of injuries that Weber did with his shot? Just his shot. It's like there's like 30 people.
I believe Hockey Night in Canada put up a list of teammates that he injured. Teammates that he injured actually, and I was just joking, but I was like, I saw Max Pacioretty on there 2 times, and I was like, man, seems like Shay really wanted that C.
and it just goes to show, like, and this is a guy that can shoot it through the net, right? Like this is a guy who didn't. If you notice, I'll use the guys that got traded for each other. You notice how Subban would go like around the world. He didn't get even like a tenth of the powers that Weber went, and Weber was cranking it maybe like 3/4, right? So his mechanics on his shot were just absolutely beautiful. He didn't have to go do this, pull up here, just because his mechanics were so smooth and so good. And I will say one thing to Shea Weber's credit: he was broken that year in the playoffs. Like him and Carey Price were, and everyone knew it. The media should have known it in Montreal when they voted for the Masterton, but they did know it. And what he did to get to the end there, I know they lost the cup, but he was already a broken man. Like he was to the point that injections between periods just to like get down the pain, the swelling and stuff. So
yeah, that was something that like I know we talk about this a lot, like post playoffs, there'll always be a laundry list of injuries that come out. And there's one that's usually one, I'm being generous, by one I mean like 15 that you see and you're like, shouldn't have played through that. And I saw some discourse about like, and I'm not like, I understand where they're coming from. Somebody said that, maybe he shouldn't have played through that. I understand. If it was like a younger player who was, but here's the thing. I think Shea Weber had it's a bit of a sunken cost fallacy, I believe. Like, I think at that point he'd put so much, his body was already where it was. And I think his thought was,
it was already bad.
And I think like at that point he just kind of was like, I'm going to do my best, give it all. And he almost got there. And it's, they showed a replay of that one press conference, the post cup loss press, where it was Shay and Carey, And Carey was like,
Yeah.
I didn't play well enough. And Shay was like, nope, the guys in front of him didn't. And so I think that like is really a good like indication of the kind of leader that Shay Weber was.
And
I think we've
it's
all
very
heard,
similar to how Suzuki acts actually in the
yes,
locker room. I know a lot of people criticize him, but that's
yep,
exactly how Suzuki acts. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it was like I'm sure everybody's heard the story, but I just really quickly is like again I said really quickly, but I'm guys I'm going, but like one of the stories that we heard is that like he would carry out his own equipment. He didn't make the equipment managers do it. Um,
Yeah.
And like today, I was watching one of his what do you call it? One of the not the press conference, but like a
The
thing, a
montage
scrum that they had
yeah.
before, yeah. And it was really funny because I believe it was Stu Cowan, who I can't remember
I
who
love
because
Stu.
obviously their names weren't like as they were like I'm blank and I'm asking this question. No, but I think it was him, and he kind of asked about that and like when did you start doing it? Did you do it in Nashville? And like Rev started talking about it and he was like talking about why he did it and blah blah blah. And then like at one point he was like then he got you could start to hear him get like kind of mad thinking about it where he was like and you know as I got older I started getting frustrated with the guys who weren't doing it because it takes 10 seconds to do it and you're just making someone's life easier. And I could see him like getting just frustrated talking about it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And he's a no nonsense guy, right? And there's a lot,
yeah,
like, there's so much value to that. You have two type of guys. You have the guys that yap a lot, like Josh Georges. Listen, for all I
yeah,
like, he's a great leader, but when you're just sitting there going, go red, or go blue, there's really not a ton of value there. So
yeah,
leading by example and only injecting yourself into the situation when it's needed. That's you know, a leader commands respect, doesn't demand it.
yeah.
Right. And that's the huge difference. So Shea Weber commanded respect. And Nick Suzuki, I'll tell you right now, he's very well respected. He commands respect as well. Hey, Marco, yeah, I love that. The sunken cost fallacy you mentioned, props on the high level. I would have said pot committed because I'm dumb like that, but she comes out with the proper psychological term for it. So, you know,
Guys,
we're
gotta put my degree to use some way. I'm not
hey,
I'm
man,
not getting it in the job market. Might as well use it here, eh?
that's absolutely great. The more logical fallacies you can put in place, the better. But I honestly, those two guys, I just have to give them so much props for what they went through. And Shea Weber, do you guys remember when what was his name? The guy that he's an announcer now, but he ran into Ed Belfour for the Leafs. Then he got knocked out. Down goes, and when he got knocked out, career over. Nick Kypreos. Okay, so Nick Kypreos. What was I going with oh yeah, so remember when he mentioned Shea Weber's foot was hurt? I don't know if you remember that, like 5-10 years ago.
Yes, and everybody dunked on him. It was like 2020, I think, or something like that.
Okay, he was right. Shea Weber's foot
He
had
was
been
right.
messed up since Nashville. Like pretty, and that was one of the reasons Poyle kind of moved on. So the fact that Shea Weber pushed through all that, man, what a man. That's intense. And someone real quick, someone mentioned in the chat, is it wrong to say the Habs won the Weber Subban trade? No, absolutely not. The reason why, and I'll tell you real quick, they got the best out of PK Subban, and they got way more Weber than anyone expected. Like
Yes.
they got Norris years out of Subban. Now, don't forget, Subban went to Cup finals right away. Like he did pretty good in Nashville, but they got the best version of PK Subban, and they got 5 years of much better quality of Shea Weber. I think they did win that trade. There's not a huge difference between all of them, but when you look at it, I think the players respect a little bit more Montreal, how they handled it. Whereas Poyle, there's still some beef within him and Weber. Let's be honest. Like we saw
Yeah.
it at the Hall of Fame. You know,
Yeah.
he even threw a dagger at Poyle there. So, you know, I think all in all, the Habs probably got the best out of that deal.
You know, in that very scrum that I'm talking about, one of the things he was talking about, like somebody asked about the trade and like kind of how he felt, and like he'd mentioned it's a pretty obvious, and he'd said it before that he wasn't like thrilled at first. He was caught off
He was
guard.
so pissed. He was
Yeah.
so pissed. He was legit
Yeah.
pissed. Yeah.
And one of the kind of things he said, he kind of ended it a little bit with like, well, it would have been nice to hear about it before the rest of the world. And
I get that.
I get it. I get it. It would really suck to find out like that. And I'm just like, I'm really glad that that is the captain that Nick Suzuki had coming into the league and learning how to be a captain. I think, you know, if I recall correctly, there's a somewhere, somehow, someone, my favorite way to reference things, someone said that like Shay was actually very very honest with the organization that like he thought that Nick should be the next captain. I think right after they were eliminated, he pretty much knew. And I think something like that just like says a lot, because you have people. By the way, he does belong in the Hall of Fame. Don't get me pissed off about this. But you have
people are so like people. Sorry, real quick. People are so edgy nowadays. I mean, what did Shay Weber do? This is more than you've done in your entire life. You know what I mean? Like, goddamn, he's won every single international award that's ever happened, and it's not the NHL Hall of Fame; it's the Hockey Hall of Fame. So the fact that he did well in the NHL is just adding to it. Shea Weber was a slam dunk Hall of Fame entry. It's just, to me, it's crazy that
he should have a Norris. Should have had a Norris.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know, it's to me that's crazy that anyone. Sorry to interrupt. It's just like, you know, everyone's so damn edgy on Twitter these days. You know, it's always like,
everyone's got to be contrary. Somebody's got to say something to get some, you know,
edge lords. You know, like they're the pizza cutter. It's all edge, no point, right?
Yeah,
so, sorry, that was just, I saw so many people criticizing Weber and like ridiculous.
Pissed me off.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we got some good questions in the chat. Oh, sorry, finish up, and then I think we'll jump
I was just gonna we'll do the questions, because again, been rambling. You guys will have to forgive me. It's my first one. I'm excited. Okay,
you're doing great, Kay.
I'm
doing
excited.
So much better than me and Andrew did. Like, you know, me and Andrew, every night we're like, man, I wish we were that good. Honestly, no, seriously, you're doing really, really good. Don't worry about it.
That's very kind of you. I was just gonna say, one of the stories that I remember reading somewhere. Again, my favorite way to sort of reference things. It was, I think Shay this was 2014 Olympic year. And Shay like joked around and he was like, when I'm on the ice with Sidney Crosby and I'm facing him, I try to be careful with my shot. I don't need to get that guy injured. And that's one of my favorite little like quips is like, he was straight up like, I gotta keep that man safe. And I was like,
absolutely. Fair. Those two won a lot together, man. Like Shea Weber and Sidney Crosby won every gold.
They were roomies at the Olympics, years, They were roomies and apparently ping pong hustlers.
I imagine Shea Weber just the meanest guy when for ping pong. He probably plays
shoot through someone.
Absolutely. Okay, we have some interesting questions here, and obviously before we get going, subscribe, like, and all that fun stuff. Don't forget we have a LaRouche campaign going. You can donate, PayPal, and all that stuff. There's different tiers. Go check out everything underneath the Andrew wrote it all nicely underneath our show here.
So we're officially in overtime. So let's go.
Oh, we're way off.
Let's go.
David Jiricek, someone mentioned him. He's not playing all that well. It's true. He did regret. Well, he didn't regret. He just never really took that extra step. And it's kind of interesting because we look at Simon Nemec in the AHL, David Jiricek in the AHL. Shane Wright is the most vanilla. I still don't understand why I guess they just annoyed him when he's 14. But he's such a vanilla. Like he's like a Jake Evans. Like he's the worst version of Owen Beck right now, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So when you look at all those players,
feel bad for him. He was in the spotlight, but yeah. I mean, in terms of now, there's a fan base, like a very big fan base, who's like, I think they've left him alone at this point. I don't hear anybody talk about him anymore. I think it's more me.
I love that. He was angry though, because
that was dope.
But
that was dope.
I think the teams were right there in dropping him. Now, out of all these guys, Logan Cooley's the one that's like flying out the gate, right? And Slavkovsky's right there too. So it's funny because every year it kind of switches up, and the guy who I thought would be the best, Simon Nemec, is in the AHL right now, and so is Jiricek. Now, Jiricek's a left defenseman. They'd ask a ton for him. Would you do this? Marco asks, would you do Mailloux plus the Calgary first-round pick for Jiricek?
I wouldn't do a right shot. I wouldn't do a right shot defenseman. If it was somebody else, if it was another defenseman, I'd consider it, but I wouldn't do a right. Unless we're getting a right shot back, I don't want to send it off a right shot.
No, he's a lefty. And I feel like the Habs have so many of those like reclamation projects. And we see this year, Doc, it's not going as well as other years. Like it won't always. They hit the money with Sean Monahan. They hit the money with Doc at first.
It was really nice to see Monahan. He was doing some things out there, including taking Ling and Hudson's stick. But yeah.
They're saying it. I think you might have the framework there, but I don't know if you want to. Oh, he is a right. He is the right. I thought he was lefty.
Okay.
Hold on, this changes everything.
Okay, that does change everything for me.
right. He actually shoots left. Okay, well then we're having a secret agent man knows. Hey, check. No, man. So yeah, he definitely is a right. I still don't know though, because when we're looking at in terms of their AHL production, Mayu's outplayed him in the AHL as well, right? So,
But how is he defensively is always the big question here.
well, I'll be honest. I watched him a lot in the AHL, and he's been okay defensively. Probably better than Mayu defensively. Doesn't take as many shots, and he's not as effective in the power play. Yeah, it's not the worst. Now that now that he's a right. I'm sorry, I'm the one that said he was a lefty. So I'm the one that screwed up everything there. That's not the worst offer, because the Calgary first will be, well, hopefully 11. But if it's way after that, if it flips to the Florida pick, I believe those are the conditions. It's going to be late. Yeah,
Man, I don't know those conditions at all. I've lost
it's
those
like
conditions.
75 page of conditions. I don't even pretend I know, but I still think the Habs are in a position to have more reclamation projects, right? Like,
Yeah,
it feels like
but
a lot.
here's the thing: is he really a reclamation project this early in his career? I think you can really see reclamation when it's like a Jonathan Duran, when it's like a yeah. I think in that case, but I understand where you're coming from. I
The other part
think
is real quick. I don't think the Columbus is not looking to get rid of him. Anytime a guy goes to the HL, people are like, oh, like he's going to be for cheap. No. Like he was a top 5, or sorry, he was actually the 6th overall pick. They're not going to throw him away for nothing.
I think Friedman said that there is some possibility there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, but it's not going to
But
be
that's
like
different than
scraps,
actively shopping. That's different than actively shopping. Yeah.
Now there was actually at the draft, what was his name? Jan Mishak. So I was at the SDPN party, and Jan Mishak came and met me, and he was introducing me to like Nemec and Jiricek. Jiricek was the least fun guy. I could have, like, we're all having beers and shots, we're having a good time, and I don't think he liked me. Fair enough, I totally get that. He's not the first, but he was very stern in his approach. That's my only Jiricek.
Yeah.
And I get it. If I've been liquored up, I get my Irish side comes out, my French side comes out. It's a bit much, but like as Marco mentions here, Mayu is outproducing him offensively. Yeah, see, that's, to me, that's the big issue, right? Like right now, forget where they were drafted. Mayu's the better player right now in terms of pure offense. The Habs need more offense from their back end, so I don't know if I make a deal. But a second round pick,
You
then
think
I'd
so?
consider it.
You think
Yeah,
they need
I
a
consider
lot?
a second round pick.
No, I mean, sorry. You mean, do you think they need more offense from their D?
Well, yeah, because I don't know if
Because
they
last year
necessarily
it
need.
was different, right?
They were the top team, right? They finished with what, 48 goals from
Second
the
to
back end.
Colorado, I think.
Before tonight, they're on pace for 11 goals, I believe, from the back end. Now they got, who scored? It was Matt. Oh no, Matheson didn't score twice, right? So they scored another goal, so they're on pace for like 18 goals in the back end. That's what less than half the production.
To be fair, we are having a lot of problems scoring in general. So you win some, you lose some.
Exactly. Well, people are saying here's not a reclamation project. Now, hey, listen, it's still his third year in the league, right? So like, it's not like Marco mentions here, McGroarty. No, it's not the same thing, right? Because he was coming right out of college. Like, he was a high-end pick, and he has played in the NHL for the last 3 years. Now, you're right. It's maybe not the right term, reclamation project, but he's not.
I understand kind of what you're saying. I understand kind of what you're saying.
The gates either, right? Like, he's struggled in his development too. So you have to worry, did the Columbus Blue Jackets make him a worse player? Because that's also a possibility. So, but I don't know. I didn't watch him enough to know.
The Marc Bergevin classic, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just real bitter about this right now. I'm in my
hold on real quick. Marco says Mayu's not a better player at all. No, but he's better offensively, and there's no question about that. Like,
that's
it's
fair.
not even close.
Yeah.
He's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're saying he's a top pairing D. Again, I don't know, but right now you have Ryan Becker, you have Mayu, and you have. It'd be cool if Gould could stick there, but they're not, like, it's not the worst situation for the Habs right now. The defense, if they have the strategy down, a little more offense, I think it'll alleviate it. The pressure on the defense, and we're seeing they're already better. So I like keeping Mayu as almost like a special teams player. You know what I mean? Put him on power play, lots of shots, hide him at 5-on-5. Make him like Marc-André Bergeron there back in the day. That was like for Logan Mayu.
Any other questions you saw?
There are a lot, and everyone's excited because you did a great job hosting. But I think we're running for about over an hour now. So
it's probably. Yep. So we will. I I believe I am hosting next
Monday?
time. Yep, I believe I
Andrew,
am.
right? I believe.
Yes. I don't know. I'll be here sometime, guys. You're not getting rid of me. Whatever it
But make
is.
sure to follow Kay, right, on Twitter. I'm gonna go find your Twitter while you wrap up. I'm gonna go find
Yes.
your Twitter name here because it never shows up when I search for it. It's really annoying.
Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great win. I think it was nice to get this. By the way, we didn't even get around to talking about how they finally won after a ceremony honor thing, which is not a thing they like to do, apparently.
Amazing. Yeah. And we had our guests, our committee was amazing. Like Denis was here today, Mark, everyone was here today.
Yes.
And they were great, except for Claire. I kind of feel like Claire's abandoning me, but I forgot to say hi last feed, so it might be on me.
Yeah. No, but thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much. Like, I love all the comments. I love, even though I'm like going cross-eyed trying to read the chat and then trying to look at the camera, then trying to look at my big screen. I'm working, guys. I'm working hard. Working 9 to 5, I guess. I'm not.
It's a fantastic song, by the way. Dolly Parton's my hero. Honestly, if you ever get a chance, no one knows about Dolly Parton. She's the best of us. She's the best human we've ever had on earth. Is Dolly Parton. I feel like that's the right way to end a show, right? Talking about Dolly Parton.
Of course. So everybody make sure to subscribe and like. And Mark, where can they find you?
But a little bit everywhere. I'm really loud. You'll find me. But
I
make
keep
sure you follow Kay.
retweeting him. I retweet him a lot, guys.
There you go. Merci tout le monde, sérieux. And I love we're seeing I love everyone from every background, but we're seeing a lot more francophones in the chat. J'adore ça. Personnellement, j'adore ça.
Yes.
On va avoir un show complètement français assez bientôt. On s'organise là et donnez-nous un petit moment, mais on va le faire.
All right. Okay. Well, signing off.